famous because your daddy's famous.
A heated, emotional, straight-up real showdown between two respected men. Rapper T.I., known to the world as the King of the South, and comedian D.L. Hughley, a man who never holds his tongue when he sees something that needs to be said. But this time, his words didn't just hit headlines, they hit a father's heart. Now before we dive in, make sure you watch this video till the very end, because what went down between these two men will make you see fatherhood, fame, and respect in a whole new way. Trust me, you don't want to miss a second of this. It all started when D.L. Hughley made a comment that caught the internet on fire.
Because PMG, he did that same thing that Lil King doing.
He said that King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny Harris, was on a dangerous path, the kind that could lead to prison. Yeah, he said that, out loud, on camera, for the world to hear. Now, if you've been following King for a while, you already know he's been making headlines, and not for his music. From viral videos of him arguing with people in public, to flexing cash online, to run-ins with police, the boy's been acting out. And the internet has been quick to call him everything from spoiled rich kid to wannabe gangster. They said he's trying too hard to prove something, even though he was born into money, fame, and privilege. But see, when D.L. Hughley made that statement, saying King might end up in jail, it didn't sound like just another social media opinion. It sounded personal. It sounded like judgment. And for a man like T.I., who built his whole name and legacy on protecting his family, that hit deep. Now let's pause right there, because this moment right here, it's where everything changed. Keep watching till the end, because what went down between these two men will make you see fatherhood, fame, and respect in a whole new way. Trust me, you don't want to miss a second of this. It all started when D.L. Hughley...
Now, King's journey isn't over. He's still got lessons to learn, mistakes to make, and a legacy to live up to. But he's got something most young men don't: a father who refuses to give up on him. T.I. once said in another live, "Y'all don't understand. When you raising kids in the spotlight, it's a whole different kind of challenge. Every move gets judged. Every slip becomes a scandal. But guess what? That's still my son. And as long as I'm breathing, I got him." That's love. That's fatherhood. That's real. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson we can all take from this. Because in a world that loves to point fingers, T.I. reminded everyone what it means to stand up for your family. And D.L. Hughley reminded everyone that tough love sometimes comes from the heart. Two men, one message: protect the next generation.
Man, stop hitting me and getting in my comments, telling me what to tell King.
And as for King Harris, he's out there living, learning, and proving to everyone that he's not just T.I.'s son. He's his own man. He's making music, focusing on his growth, and trying to show that one mistake doesn't define your destiny. So maybe, in a strange way, this whole confrontation was a blessing in disguise. It sparked conversations about parenting, fame, and accountability. It made people think before they judge. And it showed that even in disagreement, respect is still possible. Because at the end of the day, every headline fades, every argument dies down. But family? Family lasts forever. Take it a little deeper, because this whole situation between T.I., D.L. Hughley, and King Harris wasn't just a celebrity disagreement. It was a reflection of something real that so many families go through, especially Black families in the spotlight. It's about fathers and sons, pride and pressure, and how the public eye can make private lessons feel like public battles. See, when T.I. confronted D.L. Hughley, a lot of people thought he overreacted. But if you really think about it, it wasn't just about one comment. It was about everything that comment represented. For years, T.I. has been fighting to prove he's more than the mistakes from his past. Every business he's opened, every speech he's given, every project he's touched, it's been part of a bigger mission to show that he's evolved. So when D.L., another respected Black man, another father, predicted something so negative about his son, It felt like all that work was being erased in one sentence. Like the world was saying, no matter what you've built, your son's still gonna fall. That hit a nerve, because behind all the fame and money, there's still a man who wants the same thing any parent wants, to see his child win. And what makes this story even more powerful is how it forced people to talk about something deeper, how the children of celebrities grow up under pressure most of us can't even imagine. From the outside, people think King Harris has it all, a mansion, money, opportunities. But the truth is, that kind of fame comes with its own struggles. Every move you make gets judged, every slip becomes a scandal, and everyone expects you to be perfect. Even Tiny Harris, King's mom, once said in an interview that raising kids in the public eye is one of the hardest things they've ever done. She said, people see the cameras and think it's easy, but they don't see the pressure. They don't see the comments, the bullying, the expectations. She wasn't lying. So when King started acting out, maybe it wasn't rebellion, maybe it was frustration. Maybe it was him trying to figure out who he really is away from his parents' shadow. And when D.L. Hughley made that prison comment, it probably felt like the world was confirming his worst fear. That no matter what he does, people will always see him as T.I.'s wild son. That's the sad part about fame. It gives you everything, but it also takes a lot away, especially privacy and grace. Now, let's fast forward a bit. After all the drama, after the confrontation and social media chaos, something amazing happened. People started having real conversations about parenting and accountability. Even other celebrities chimed in. 50 Cent, who's known for never missing a chance to comment, reportedly said something like, "That's between them, but I get it. You don't talk about a man's kid." Charlemagne the God from The Breakfast Club mentioned that both men had valid points. DL for being honest, and TI for being protective. It's rare to see the public actually understand both sides, but this time, people got it. And through it all, King Harris started changing. Quietly, slowly, but you could see it. No more viral arguments, no more street talk. Just focus. He started putting out more music, showing fans that he's serious about his craft. And say what you want, but the boy's got talent. That same fire that made him talk tough, he's learning to put that into his music instead of drama. And T.I., he's right there beside him, guiding him, checking him, loving him. Even when it's tough love. You can see it in the way he talks about King now. The anger's gone. What's left is understanding. He said recently, "I can't control his path, but I can walk with him through it." That's growth. That's fatherhood evolving in real time. But don't think for a second this story's all smiles now. The internet never forgets, and every time King's name pops up, people still bring up that prison prediction. But maybe that's okay. Maybe it's a reminder, not of shame, but of how far he's come. Because if you look closely, you'll see something special. DL's warning, T.I.'s defense, and King's reaction, they all became part of the same lesson. Each of them grew from it. DL learned that sometimes truth hits harder when it's spoken privately. T.I. learned that protecting your child doesn't always mean fighting. Sometimes it means guiding. And King learned that the world's opinion doesn't define you, your actions do. And maybe that's what makes the story so human. Because whether you're a celebrity or not, every parent knows what it's like to worry about their child. Every young person knows what it's like to feel misunderstood. And every family knows what it's like to clash before they find peace. T.I. said something near the end of this whole situation that really stuck with people. He said, "I came from the trap, but I built my son a kingdom. Now he just got to learn how to rule it." That line right there, that's poetry. That's a father saying, "I gave you everything I didn't have, now make me proud." And in that moment, you could tell, T.I. wasn't mad anymore. He was hopeful. Because even through the chaos, he still believes in his son. Now, let's be real. The internet loves drama, but this time something different happened. Instead of dividing people, the story actually brought folks together. Fathers started sharing their own stories, mothers started talking about their fears, and fans started realizing that even celebrities struggle with parenting just like everybody else. That's why this moment between T.I. and D.L. Hughley hit so hard, because it wasn't just gossip. It was real life, unfiltered and raw. And when the cameras turned off and the headlines faded, What was left were two men who still respected each other enough to talk it out. No grudges, no bitterness, just two grown men learning from a heated moment. In the months that followed, you could see T.I. move differently. He started posting more positive things about his family, proud father moments, behind-the-scenes looks, encouraging words for his kids. He wasn't clapping back at trolls anymore. He was focusing on growth. And King? He's been quiet, which in this industry is a sign of maturity. You can tell he's working on himself, trying to find his voice, his lane, his purpose. And honestly, that's what this whole journey has been about. Because when you strip away the fame, the money, and the cameras, what you're left with is a father trying to raise a son, a young man trying to grow up, and a community watching, learning, and sometimes judging, but hopefully also understanding. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It's not about who was right or wrong, it's about how both sides learned. How pride turned into reflection, how public tension turned into private growth. So by the end of it all, T.I. and D.L. Hughley reminded the world of something simple but real. Disagreement doesn't mean disrespect. You can check someone and still care. You can protect your family and still accept advice. You can defend your son and still let him grow. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real message. Because every parent, famous or not, wants the same thing, for their child to find their way without losing themselves. And every child, no matter who they are, just wants to be seen for who they really are, not who the world says they should be. So when you look back at this moment, don't see it as T.I. versus D.L., see it as what it really was. A father's love colliding with a mentor's warning, pain meeting purpose, fear meeting truth. Because in the end, they both wanted the same thing, for King Harris to win. And judging by how things are going now, maybe he finally will.
King Harris had been going through it. He's been trying to build his name in the music world, trying to prove he's more than just T.I.'s son. But along the way, he started acting out, trying to show people he's real. He's about that life. Except most people online weren't buying it. They said he's acting like something he's not. They said he's pretending to be tough. And honestly, it's sad because a lot of people forgot. This is still a teenage boy, just 19 years old, still growing up, still figuring himself out. But instead of getting space to make mistakes, he's living under a microscope. Every move he makes turns into a headline. Every misstep turns into a meme. Now back to T.I. He wasn't mad at D.L. because of what he said about King's behavior. He was mad because of how he said it. On camera, publicly, to millions of people. In T.I.'s eyes, if you're truly concerned about a young man, you don't blast him for views. You pull his father aside privately. That's what real ones do. So when D.L. went public, T.I. took it as disrespect. He saw it as another black man publicly tearing down another brother's child, instead of trying to uplift. And you can see why that would sting. But let me tell you, this story doesn't stop here. Keep watching till the end, because what happens next will completely change how you see both of these men. T.I. reportedly got in D.L.'s face and said, "You don't get to talk about my son's destiny. That's between me, God, and my boy. You can't predict prison for no man's child." And that's when witnesses say it almost turned physical. Security stepped in. Voices got louder. But deep down you could tell this wasn't about violence. It was about pain. Two fathers, both trying to make a point, but in completely different ways. D.L. told him, "If you don't want people to talk about your son, keep him out the public eye. You raised him in front of cameras, now you mad people got opinions." And honestly, that line hit hard. Because as harsh as it sounded, there was some truth in it. Remember the show T.I. and Tiny the Family Hustle? The world watched King grow up on that show. People saw his personality, his attitude, his charm. But they also saw his mischief. They felt like they knew him. So when he started getting into trouble, those same fans felt like they had the right to speak on it. That's the double-edged sword of fame. Still, for T.I., logic didn't matter in that moment. What mattered was loyalty. He said, "You don't correct my son on camera. You talk to me first." That's what real men do. Now, social media went crazy. Some people sided with DL, saying, "He's right, King needs a wake-up call." Others clapped back, saying, "But that's not your place. You don't talk about another man's child, especially not publicly." And while the internet argued, T.I. stayed silent for a few days. But behind the scenes, actual talks were happening between his family. People close to them said Tiny Harris was the calm voice in the storm. She told Tip, "You can't control what people say. You just keep loving your child." And that's exactly what T.I. did. He poured his energy back into King. No more social media rants, no more arguments online, just family time, real talks, real lessons. Because deep down, he knew that the world might not give King grace, but he had to. Now, meanwhile, King Harris himself started speaking up. He went live on Instagram saying, "I don't care what none of y'all old dudes got to say. I'm living my life." He looked angry, defensive, but behind that tough talk, you could see something else. Frustration, maybe even hurt. Because imagine being 19, trying to find your way, and every grown man on the internet is judging you.
It's also worth noting that King's arrest in October 2024 wasn't some over-the-top street situation. No gang shootouts, no undercover stings. It was a near miss with a police cruiser, a car full of weapons, and old charges that he had ignored. That's all it took to put him in the middle of something much bigger than he ever expected. While the charges were eventually softened and King walked free, the experience inside jail reportedly left a lasting mark. Body cam footage shows him admitting to having guns in the car without hesitation, almost casually, but that bravado didn't translate to jail survival. The moment he stepped into that environment, the stakes became life or death. Family, this is where the story takes another turn. King, trying to act tough, reportedly started cracking jokes at older inmates, even name-dropping his father. That, insiders say, was the ultimate mistake. In a place where respect and fear dictate everything, showing arrogance or ignorance can quickly put you in serious danger. The whispers that spread that this was T.I.'s son escalated the situation. Suddenly, King Harris became a living target, and every move he made was watched, measured, and judged. Panic set in. And that's when he reached out to his father, T.I., the man whose own life had once navigated these same dangers. T.I. understood immediately what was at stake, not just for his son, but for the family legacy. While King reportedly called from jail, half pleading and half frustrated, T.I. moved quietly but strategically. This wasn't about lawyers, bail, or social media statements. It was about survival. Contacts from the streets, old networks, and trusted advisors that were all activated to ensure King came out safely. The story shows just how quickly fame and online bravado can evaporate when you are faced with the real-life consequences of your choices. King had been living in a bubble of privilege, thinking he could act untouchable because of his father's fame. But jail taught him that no amount of online followers, flashy cars, or family connections guarantees safety when the rules are different and the stakes are real. This story also highlights the generational challenge that T.I. faces. He spent years trying to guide King away from the path he himself knew too well, the streets, the legal trouble, and the dangerous culture that surrounds them. King, however, wanted to prove that he could handle life on his own terms. He wanted respect, clout, and to show that he wasn't just living off his father's legacy. But in doing so, he found himself in a situation where his father's lessons suddenly became crucial. T.I.'s quick action behind the scenes likely saved King from a potentially deadly situation. And here's the part that really hits. Jail, insiders say, doesn't care who you are. The people inside aren't impressed by social media followers, flashy cars, or even the name you carry. Respect has to be earned. Fear has to be understood, and power dynamics must be navigated carefully. King's loudmouth and attempts at showing toughness made him a target, and the situation reportedly escalated quickly. That's when survival instincts kicked in, and King realized that sometimes you have to call for help, even if it means swallowing pride and relying on those with experience, like his father. T.I.'s response, quiet but strategic, shows that parenting in the world of fame comes with unique challenges. It's not just about providing money or comfort. It's about guiding, protecting, and sometimes intervening to prevent mistakes from escalating into a tragedy. King's experience, which began as a seemingly small arrest, quickly became a life lesson about respect, consequences, and the harsh realities of environments he wasn't prepared for. The contrast between his online persona and his real-life vulnerability is stark, and it's something that resonates for many young people who chase online clout without understanding real-world consequences. After King's release, the public reaction was intense. Headlines, blogs, and social media outlets reported every detail of the arrest, the weapons, and the jail experience. While the legal side was handled relatively quickly, the cultural impact and the lessons for King were profound. He had gone from a young man acting untouchable online to someone who had to rely on his father and family connections to navigate a dangerous situation. The story serves as a reminder that fame, privilege, and confidence don't always equal safety. Real life can hit hard, and sometimes the only way to survive is to recognize your mistakes and reach out for help. The aftermath also leaves us asking questions about King's future. Will he learn from this experience? Will he grow into the father, man, and artist he wants to be? Or will he continue chasing street credibility, clout, and risky behavior that could put him in danger again? This story isn't just about one night in jail. It's about legacy, choices, survival, and the lessons that come when the bubble of privilege is popped. King's story is a cautionary tale for anyone who thinks that fame can shield them from consequences. T.I., watching his son navigate this crisis, reportedly reflected on the importance of breaking cycles. He knows firsthand how quickly a life can be derailed by bad choices and unchecked arrogance. For King, this was a chance to understand the true value of guidance, experience, and respect. His father's intervention may have kept him safe this time, but the lessons learned will stick with him for life. Every decision King makes going forward will determine whether he rises above this moment or continues a cycle that could end in disaster. Family, I want you to pay attention here because King Harris's journey is far from over. The story still unfolds, and what happens next will be crucial. The streets, the law, and even public perception are all factors that he now has to navigate carefully. Fame and privilege can only take you so far. Real-life choices, respect, and understanding the environment you are in are what determines survival. T.I.'s quiet, strategic action behind the scenes may have saved his son from immediate danger, but the road ahead is still challenging. King's story is a lesson in humility, responsibility, and the harsh realities of chasing toughness without understanding the risks.